Spags, we are back. We have ran through the interwebs over to the Splash Play channel for another Best Ball Mania 4 draft where we will be battling it out for the chat's approval.
Yes, you can see it on the screen now. This is draft number 19 for Pete and his quest to max out Best Ball Mania 4 on stream. And a surprise happened to us for the first time. So we've been doing all these drafts, perhaps bitten by our own success. I'm going to have to multi-table this one to preserve Pete's draft purity. I'll be doing 2 Best Ball Mania drafts at once. I guess I won't talk about the overflow, but again, a victim of our own success, Pete, because these are all the same people who are in our community.
Yeah, poor Spags. This guy is going to have to multitask doing 2 drafts at once. I'm sure you are going to try to put an asterisk next to this team when I beat you in the popular vote. You're going to say, hey, I was multitasking. So Spags, I want you to give your primary attention to this draft. I can't have any excuses.
The good news is I'm in the 101 in this draft that you could see here on the board with Pete. Pete is going at the 12th spot. So you classic Pete location here for Best Ball Mania drafting. But yeah, I'll be able to at least get some time in between then because I'll be able to take Justin Jefferson and just rest on my laurels for a few rounds.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad that Spags, you were rewarded the 1-1 for, what the hoops you're going to have to jump through to make this work here. 112 for me. Do I get my first Amon-Ra St. Brown CeeDee Lamb start?
I hope so. I think, that's apparently very popular out there. Or you can just get crazy, take a bunch of running backs, have some fun with it.
Oh, I love taking running backs, as everyone knows. Actually, Spags, I'm going to make you hold down the fort while I go to the bathroom real quick.
Okay, cool. Well, in the overflow draft, I just took Bijan Robinson. He fell to the 10 spot. So I'll update you guys on the overflow while Pete's overflowing in his bathroom right now. And I will take Justin Jefferson here in this draft that I'm doing with Pete. So we will see what comes up here. Of course, some familiar names in here as well. And shout out to all you guys who are moving over channel to channel. We appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to Splash Play, I'm going to pander early on here because we are so close to 2,000 subs. And I want to hit that marker. It puts us ahead of all the peers out there. We've been doing this kind of the same way for the same amount of time. So help us out here. Hit the like button and, of course, subscribe right now. And we'll see what Pete does here coming up the 12 hole. Maybe his P will be so long it'll actually miss his pick. That would be a fun stream event, I would say. I'm back on the clock on my overflow draft as well. And I will pair my Bijan with, you know what? I'm actually going to get stupid in the overflow draft. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor with Bijan. Why not? Running back pig only when it's not on stream. That is my personal goal.
You just stole the line out of my head. I was going to say it's you only have the courage to be a piggy when the people aren't watching. It takes a real man to stare down a wide receiver avalanche and grab a couple of running backs.
Well, here's the good news, Pete. There is a gift for that on this channel. Here's the running back pig. The cutest pig in the world, if nothing else.
It is a cute pig.
There we go. Back to the banner. Who are you going to take here?
I honestly might just do it. I might just get the CeeDee Lamb Amon-Ra out of my system unless Sam Duell wants to mess it up here.
I think it's a good move. It's certainly hard to argue those guys being both wide receiver ones and the week 17 of it all. And Amon-Ra still, like, he's come up a little bit, but he is still priced for Jameson Williams, like the pre-suspension stuff. Like, he wasn't going that much behind where he is now.
Oh, he ruins my fun.
Oh, boo.
He ruins my fun. You know what? I don't have any Eckler yet. We're going to grab an Eckler share. I want to ask you about Eckler in a second. Let's do Eckler and Amon-Ra. Do you think Austin Eckler's ADP rises, or do you think he settles here right where he's at the 2-3 or the 1-2 turn?
It should rise a little bit if he is in camp and reporting and all that stuff, but I guess that wouldn't be then until mid-July because I'm sure he's not going to show up to OTAs. So I think it'll come up, but it's going to be another month and a half before it comes up. But even then, like, it probably shouldn't come up that much because, like, he's going to show up. They didn't make a trade for him. So the real risk at this point is that he's in the last year of his contract and that, like, they could give Spiller carries. They could give Josh Kelly more work. They can sign Zeke or whatever the case may be. So I think that it's going to be treated like the risk has changed, even though the risk is the same as it's been this entire offseason.
Yeah. It looks like I already lost the popular vote. The chat wanted me to reach up for Tony Pollard there. They wanted that week 17 correlation. But I'm sorry. I'm going to be able to have plenty more Pollard. I'll have plenty more time to Galaxy Brain combos. 0% Austin Eckler when I do think he's going to rise up. I think he settles right at like the 1.6, 1.7. which is where he was going last year. He smashed. And then I think this is just lingering ADP anchoring from the trade rumors, right? And you can see how strong the ADP anchoring effect is. I mean, Barkley was a good example last year, right? Where he was at the 2-3 turn for a lot of the summer. There was kind of concerns of him coming back from his injury. And then he just kind of inched up until he was a 1-2 turn pick. So I kind of, if you're out on Eckler for other reasons, that's completely fine. But I do think his ADP is lagging behind that trade risk.
Boy, this is the wide receivers are not here that you normally expect when you take Jefferson first. So I am going to reach for other receivers then. And anybody who wants a discount elite QB, they're coming back to you as I take Metcalf and Cooper.
Wow, you taking an old?
Cooper's not old. He's 28. He feels old. He's not as old. Like, he's younger than Mike Evans.
Yeah. I mean, but again, I'm surprised. It's not just, I'll take Amari Cooper at or after ADP. You just took him 11 picks ahead of ADP.
Well, this is an avalanche room because normally, at least in my experience, when Jefferson, you take him at the 101, normally you're getting one of like Devonta, Higgins still there. Those guys are gone. Olave sometimes comes back to you too. So I feel like the avalanche is coming a little bit early. And so apparently is the Lamar avalanche because he's going ahead of, did he just go ahead of Josh Allen? Yeah, he did.
This is a Casey. What is Casey doing here? What was his start? He did Lamar, Chubb, and Tyreek. I see what he's setting up here.
I like the Lamar Tyreek. I have a good amount of Lamar Andrews Tyreek from just reaching for Lamar to get that. That's probably, I mean, obviously it was a great game last year. That's a really fun week 17 game is Baltimore Miami on paper.
Let's talk about what Stone was just able to do, which is going to be extremely rare. Got the Allen Diggs, but with 3rd round Allen. That is extremely nice. When you're able to sneak in that 2nd round pick, when there's a big tier gap too, by the time you pick in the 3rd round, like if you're looking at the 2v2 of Josh Allen, Deebo Samuel versus Jalen Waddle, Josh Allen, that is a smash there. So good game there. I'm sorry, Casey, you aren't going to get Mark Andrews, who I am going to take here, sliding past ADP. And you know what? We might just go elite quarterback here as well. Or am I going to get too behind at wide receiver? That's certainly a risk. Yeah, I'm a little worried in this avalanche room. We're going to grab Christian Watson. I think it's just a little too risky in this room to come out of 4 rounds with only 1 wide receiver.
That's something I've been thinking about with Watson because, you know, Minnesota, Green Bay, one of those games that is, I think, maybe an important one to target for the week 17 correlations. It doesn't align naturally right now with Justin Jefferson and Watson. So you kind of have to reach for Watson if you're going to get him as part of that week 17 correlation. And I want to start doing that, I think, because that's a nice pairing. You get a lot of Watson Addison out there, but not a lot of Jefferson Watson.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the clock over here too. This is tough. This is tougher than I realized. I also took 3 running backs so far. Why not? Let's go for 4 and then close it off.
And I will say it's even a much greater degree of difficulty what Spags is doing 2 drafts and hosting. The people who say that they are like good multi-tablers beyond 2 drafts, I think they're full of shit. I really don't think anyone can actually draft the best version of a team doing more than 2 drafts. Like if you say I can draft like 90% of what I do doing 3 drafts, like sure, I'll buy that. But you are sacrificing things. You are missing things if you're doing 3 drafts at once or more.
Yeah, I like doing 3 drafts. I did that a little bit last summer, but I did realize that like I would miss a pick a little bit more frequently at 3. 2, you can manage pretty well, I think. You very, very rarely, I think, will align fully on those. But for the puppy, if you ever see me drafting a puppy draft, I'm always doing 2 there because it's just impossible to max that out if you're not doing 2 at a time.
I think, and I've done the 2 thing, like, you know, you get them up on 2 separate windows, ideally like one you're picking in the middle of the round and one on the turn or whatever. But if you think, like we talk through like all the different levers and things you're considering between structure and ADP value and correlations and all what your opponents are doing, what their needs are, like, I'm sorry, but no one is good enough to factor in all of those things when doing more than 2 drafts at once.
Yeah, I would agree. I know that it's fun to do that for the bid. We've done it before in the stream as well, trying to do the multi-tabling a bunch of teams at once, and definitely the expected value goes down, and your ability to think goes down. I feel the same about the slow drafts too. That's why I don't do them quite as much, because I don't want to have to do 30 picks in a time and line them all up at night. Like, that's not for me.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So my slow draft hell Spags was pre draft and pre schedule, right? So the correlations is one of the biggest things you have to think through. I didn't have to think through any opposition stacks. I was just simply stacking teams. And so it's much easier to just like pop into a draft. You see your team. These are the teams I'm trying to correlate. Whereas when you add on the level of like opposition stacks, that then requires another pass through to like re-audit the roster before you make the pick. So like the more information we get, the longer I do think it takes to do like slow draft well, because you do have to refamiliarize. But pre-schedule, there was one less big element that you had to factor in.
It's just the overnight part of it gets me every time, because I feel like every single time I do a slow draft, I'm always coming up at some point in that overnight stretch. And it's like, okay, not to do the queue right, or I'm going to get the wrong guy, or like I have to worry about my wake up timing. And that throws me for a loop in a way. Whereas fast drafts, like I love hitting 2. I do it on my phone, but I'll have like the 2 and on the active screen, and I'll just look at my phone. And whenever it vibrates, I'll know my pick is coming up, and I'll stop, I'll get my sets timed out the right way. I would advocate for that. That's my favorite way to draft. Working out on the phone, do too.
All right. So I am going to select Aaron Jones here. I have Christian Watson, and you know what we're going to do? We are going to get our Minnesota bring back here. So we're going to double tap Aaron Jones and Jordan Addison, and setting up this Green Bay, Minnesota week 17.
Okay. I like Green Bay, Minnesota week 17. Wait, that game is in Green Bay though? I'm forgetting the locations of each game.
That game is it's Green Bay is at home. But
okay.
Is that right? Someone in the chat, let me know.
I think I have this.
Actually, no, it's in the Dome. It's in Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's better. That's actually, so that might be one of the better spots. I guess if you're a believer in Jordan Love and all that, as some people might not be. But yeah, I like that game a lot for week 17 in a dome, 2 young teams. We know the Vikings defense shouldn't be that much improved, even though they did hire Brian Flores, hopefully shift some things up a little bit there defensively. But I like that matchup a lot for week 17.
Yeah. And also when Justin Jefferson gets shut down again, my Jordan Addison share is just going to be absolutely pumping.
Addison has some nice rookie camp reports as well floating around out there.
I mean, I know we had the debates pre NFL draft of Addison versus Quentin Johnson. I felt strongly just in a vacuum prospect profile of Addison. After the landing spot stuff, I did flip it just because I think Johnston in that Chargers offense with like an actual path to being their best player. I just think that's more about like there are scenarios where Johnston is just so sick that he surpasses Keenan and Mike Williams. That's not that crazy. Whereas that was never happening for Jordan Addison. But I still like both of those guys. And it doesn't surprise me one bit that Addison is tearing up camp and that he's going to hit the ground running as a rookie.
I'm also running into the fun part of multi-tabling here where I'm up in both drafts at the same time. As people are pointing out in the chat, took 4 running backs in a row to start the draft off camera. So that's honestly making it harder to do the draft. But I am going to pick in ours now. A lot of running backs here. Who correlates? Does anybody correlate well? No Jets. I don't want Dalvin ever. I am going to take DeAndre Swift with the... No. Okay, there we go. We got him. DeAndre Swift with the first pick. And then I think... Boy, this range... I'm just going to make sure to lock up one stack for me here because I don't want to lose it. Take old Deshaun Watson, old reliable Deshaun Watson at this point.
It's so interesting to see how we draft in our tendencies because you lose more ADP value than me, but you lock up more stacks than me. I lose more stacks than you, but I get way more ADP value. And there's a push-pull to both. I just think it's interesting. Like you and I break ties in the other direction of those spots every time. Like I'm never selecting Watson ahead of ADP there. But I will then, a third of the time miss out on that stack.
It's also such a long wait when you are at the turns where it's like,
True.
I just don't think Watson can make it 24. And then I'm kind of dealing with, I guess I'd have to then scrap for Geno. Cousins will be there for me. Cousins obviously is a logical one. But Richardson and Watson probably weren't coming back. So I felt like to get one of those stacks, I had to do it now. But you're right. Like I think I prioritize stacks more, but I think it's also something too that like Leone said at one point, and it stuck in my brain where he was like, it's almost better to reach to just make sure you lock up the stack. And I think obviously it's within a range. I'm sure you don't want to reach by like 20 picks.
Yeah. So that my like counters to that stuff is one, if no other Cleveland pass catchers are off the board, which it's not, it's just Amari, you have cornered the market so far. So you're not competing for any, it's unlikely that someone reaches ahead of ADP to grab an unstacked Watson. So that gives you a little bit of cover. Two, Watson has been a guy that has just slipped a little bit just because he's not anyone's favorite player, which makes sense. Oh, I was just going to point out to the chat, I do kind of just have this internal rule. You heard me talk about it on Best Ball Breakfast. I refuse to select Anthony Richardson after ADP. This would have been a prime spot to take Anthony Richardson, but I just happen to pick at 84 and 85, and he has an ADP of 86. So it looks like I'm just still going to be boxed out of the Anthony Richardson sweepstakes here. So I'm going to go with Rachaad White instead.
His ADP has started to fall a couple of dots. Like it was at 84 and change. Now it's at 86. And it hurts me because that means there's a lot of people who are letting him slide. I still think this dip, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier with Eckler, where it's like when it gets to training camp, I think you're going to see it go back the other way because people are going to be unable to avoid the drumbeat of positive news around the guy. But he is sliding a little bit right now. And I hate that the markets have, like a lot of people have come out really publicly against him in a way that I just like, I don't get hating.
No, I was thinking about this the other day because there is such a big disconnect. And I mean, this disconnect happens a lot. Like Adam Levitan always talks about when he posts anything about Anthony Richardson on Twitter, he's just flooded with mentions of he sucks, he can't throw, yada, yada. And, Levitan has 170,000 Twitter followers, lots of normies or whatever. On Underdog, it's like the complete opposite. People are like tripping over themselves to go get Anthony Richardson. And I am not worried about my Anthony Richardson exposure right now.
Nor am I. I mean, like, I feel great about having him where I do. Like, I don't think he falls to the 100 range or anything. And I definitely think if he does fall to that range, it's going to be a brief dip where if you aren't buying it, and I'm like, cool, buy him then, and that's fine. By the time July rolls around, though, and you're hearing about the reports and you're seeing the social media clips of him throwing darts and all that stuff, and like, it's going to get untenable. And I just think the frustration point for me with some of the analysis I see a lot is a lot of it is just really bad player takes, but people digging their heels in. And it's like, that's the opposite of what you've taught me about best ball, what I've learned the most about best ball. And the industry has now become like way more player takey than I thought it would be.
Pull up Ben's comment here.
Yeah.
That's no. Sorry. The other Ben above him. I didn't realize we had two Bens. Ben says that's an L because his ADP is affected by cash games. Ben, you're telling me I'm an L on my completely arbitrary fake rule about when I'm going to take Anthony Richardson? Yes. Technically, if you filter out that ADP, you should have selected him, even though you made an arbitrary rule. So that's an L.
People want to hand out L's too easily these days.
Yeah.
There are no L's at this point of the year, is what I would say.
I don't try to reason. What do they say? You don't get in arguments with people in bad faith. You arguing about Anthony Richardson is going to be a bad faith argument from my side, bud.
Yes, it is. And I think that's fine. Like, I think you acknowledge the sort of reality of the situation that you've dug your heels in on a thing that, like, if he's great, I imagine you would feel some pains of regret, right?
Well, and other smarter people than me have made this point too. You are far less likely to get burned by a quarterback as like the quote unquote guy you need. Like I felt the Josh Jacobs, very low exposure last year, far more than you ever will a quarterback breakout. Because even in the scenarios where Anthony Richardson hits, it's unlikely that he is going to be in the Mahomes, Hurts, Allen tier. I think the way I think about Richardson hitting, I think he has like that 30-point per game upside in his upside scenarios. I don't think he has in that offense as a rookie, like the 40-point upside that Hurts and Allen have in those games. So I honestly don't fear getting buried by Anthony Richardson. And all bits aside, I will get my Anthony Richardson exposure. But as the commenter 10 minutes says up here, I really thought Richardson was on his way to the 5-6 turn. He stalled out the past week. I do think his ADP is going to settle. I do think he isn't going to be on a rocket ship into the fourth round as much as we joked about it. So I will have plenty of opportunities to get Anthony Richardson at better prices.
So this is the thing. And I hate burying a fellow Chris here. reality is so hard for people to accept. You are probably wrong about 99% of your takes you're going to have right now. You specifically, Christopher, out there are wrong about a lot of things, and you dig your heels in and you say things confidently doesn't make you more right. And I think that's the part that frustrates me about this stuff is that people are like, I watched him in college. Great. Did you see him throw for 450 yards? Did you see him run for 100, running 20 times at a game? Did you see him throw for 2 TDs and run for 2 TDs in the same game? Did you? Did you see that stuff? Because that's stuff that happens too. Do you have a subscription to Sports Info Solutions, which has the best analytics in the world?
Wow.
You look at that. You look at the EPA numbers. Do you have access to the best minds in football as part of your day job, Christopher? Or did you watch a few games and feel like, oh, he's not that good. He's overrated. Shut up. Just shut up about it. It's not reality. Reality hasn't happened yet. Reality's happening in fucking 4 months, man.
I love it. We got Spags fired up here. I took A-Chain with my Baltimore heaviness here. Tua still on the board, but I just don't like taking. Well, actually, fuck it. I said I don't like taking Tua unstacked. I took A-Chain. I'm heavy on this Baltimore game. I'm going to kind of end up what I had with that Herbert skinny stack and then being opposite on the Denver side. So I'm going to take Tua at 109. I need a quarterback. I'm heavy on his week 17 game. I think it checks out.
I think this is a funny contrast where like that's probably the most amped up I've been on a stream in a while. And that's like the pent up frustration, because each time we do this, like we talk about the meta game, we talk about like the logic of it. And I am just tired of people passing off player takes as like real info. It's not. You don't have real info. I'm also drafting in the overflow too.
Yes, Spags. How's the overflow draft? Tell us how much of a piggy you've turned into over there.
A tremendous. I don't even know who's on my team because I can't see part of the screen. Let me take a pick here. I'm taking another receiver. I'll take Elijah Moore. I have 4 running backs: Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Najee Harris. Sick them all early. Then I got Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, Jahan Dotson, Michael Thomas, and Elijah Moore. So let's say we are a little bit thin at receiver.
I think that's fair.
Okay, now I'm on the clock here. Man, this is tough. Multi-tabling and like running the stream with any sort of competency is a tough needle to thread here. AJ Dillon. Yes, Green Bay, Minnesota correlation. We'll take that. And then it would be nice to get another receiver in. No Jets at this point. Rashee Rice escapes me a lot, so I'm just going to take Rashee Rice here.
I'm sure it was very painful to pass on your guy, Alec Pierce. What percentage of your Anthony Richardson teams have Alec Pierce?
I think I am at. I mean, do we want like including the puppies? If we include the puppies, it's going to be pretty ugly. But I'll pull it up. Let's see. Exposure. So I usually don't take an unstacked Pierce, and I have 37% Pierce across everything.
Gavin has a fun question in the chat here.
Yes.
If you had a crystal ball and could reveal the points scored for one player on week 17, who would it be? And I'll just frame this. Last year, this kind of question came up and we talked about it. And we agreed that like a Chiefs wide receiver would have been the best one to know, just because there was so much uncertainty in that wide receiver room. And if you could kind of know the outcome of one, it would allow you to play that. Honestly, like I think you could make a really good case for Anthony Richardson being one here.
He would be the most valuable for me to know at this point.
It would. I mean, Spags, like imagine if you just got to see it. It's like 0 points. You would just be so devastated.
I mean, here's the thing, Pete. The reality's already been set, so we can't know that. I guess only if you're a special soothsayer. Yeah, for me, it'd be Richardson for sure, but it would also be Richardson because, like, not even for the knowing it game wise. It would just be able to know that I'm right now, because I don't want to wait until January to be right. I want to be right today.
That's unfortunately it sounds like you might want to be a DFS tout instead of a best ball tout, Spags.
Yeah, DFS, there is a quicker turnaround, and people will forget pretty fast too. They won't remember Drew Lock for 2 years.
All right. Wide receivers are going fast and furious. I'm going to end up being done with running back early, but man, I'm taking Kendre Miller at ADP every time. And I'm going to grab Romeo Doubs with my Packers bet.
So that's the thing to point out. Christian Watson has not been working out with Jordan Love. Romeo Dobbs has, and apparently they worked out also last summer too. I don't know what the deals with Watson. I was kind of looking for some positive Watson buzz because I love Watson. Again, another guy who stands out. He and Pickens, in terms of rookies, were the great EPA guys per target last year that I would expect that should port over this year. But it's weird to me that Watson's not working out with like his fellow young teammate, because that's the kind of thing you always read every single summer.
Let me, first of all, Ben, just relax about find a new slant, bud. This guy wants to talk about Richardson's ADP more than anything in life. I want to push back on a few of the people wanting to flip over the cards. I think it's bad to flip over the cards on a first round guy. I see Bijan and Chase. You want a guy where that information is having a trickle down effect and helping you make other decisions as well. So I do think you want to pick like a quarterback in an ambiguous spot, a wide receiver in an ambiguous depth chart, or same with a running back. Like a Bears running back, Spags, I think would be a really good one. Like maybe you say Khalil Herbert, like that one, I think would give me a lot of information about Deontay Foreman, Roshan Johnson, and like how good the offense is maybe. Like I want something like that that gives me information in multiple spots. And if you just say like Chase, like then how is that actionable? Like if you get 0 Chase, it's like, okay, you're taking T Higgins like 6 spots higher. Like I just don't know how that's benefiting you.
Yeah, I guess if you knew one of the wide receiver ones or a first round guy, then maybe you just avoid those, like that entire stack, and you try to get a different stack for week 17 purposes. But then it could be like Chase went for 2,000 yards and sat out week 17, and then you might have still needed him anyway. Kind of like Justin Jefferson last year, like you needed him to advance. And then if you didn't have him as part of your advancing teams, you probably had a little leverage when he was terrible in week 17. So I could see the logic. I think it's really just a matter of personal preference. Like I think what the most valuable would be, I guess, would probably be like you want an elite stack, and knowing that team, like whoever's the best, you'd want to know. But you can't choose that, obviously, as part of the game.
Casey has a good one in the chat. I really like this one. Using the logic about the Chiefs, I'd love to know the Ravens wide receiver. That would be a big one. I would Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman. I think you could pick either one of them and you'd get a ton of information that would be very valuable, because it also maybe allow you to know like, hey, are they going a little more pass heavy? I don't know. That one would be interesting.
Yeah, I do not like this pocket at all. Am I going to take Jamal Williams? All right, I'm taking Jamal Williams just because he's cheap at this point, and let's increase our bet on the always. No, you know what? Let's not increase our bet yet. Let's get Jaylen Warren in just because I need some more running backs. I'm on the clock on both boards. This is a poorly timed multi-tabling for me.
What's your Jaylen Warren exposure?
Very high. Let me see. He's my top owned running back, 31%.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Warren, love Singletary. Yeah, I have do you want to guess my top 5?
Your top 5 running backs?
Yep. Gave you the top 3 already, Warren and Singletary.
Yeah, I know you like those guys. I bet you got to have one of the rookies, like are Charbonnet and Kendre Miller up there for you?
No. Roshan Johnson is at number 4, 27%. Okay. Number 3 is a veteran, and I guess technically a handcuff, but a handcuff with a roll.
You're off your Jags running back bullshit, I think.
I'm gonna be on some Tank Bigsby bullshit, but no.
Is it AJ Dillon?
No, Elijah Mitchell is my number 3.
Oh, okay. 27%. That's a good one.
Yeah, and then A-Chain is number 5 for me at 26%. Kendre right behind him at 22. But I've made my bets on like 0 RB guys, and I think the portfolio is looking kind of good for me right now at running back.
All right.
My big board ones, like I don't want to, again, I don't know the reality, Pete. I don't know the future. I can't do that. The soothsaying like some out there. I think my odds winning the big board are exponentially higher than the average Bears.
Than the average what?
The average bear, so to speak. That expression.
Exponentially higher? Why?
Yes. Because I nailed every rookie who landed in a good spot, and like I got the guys right, and I didn't take any of the weird guys that kind of got steamed up. So I got a lot of really good value super teams.
I'm just going to nitpick your use of the word exponentially. You've maybe stacked slight edges there. Exponential is probably a bridge too far.
Well, what's the average person have a chance to win at? Like point fractional percent.
Even the best player in the world, the edge is going to be small the way the pod luck works. So I hate to knock you down a peg,
No,
Spags?
you're allowed to. I feel out of all the drafts I will do this season, perhaps besides the one I did on Peach Stream yesterday, I'm most confident in my big board teams that I think one of those little fishies will swim to the water.
All right, Spags. I'm going to make my obvious pick. The obvious pick is Jordan Love to be my second quarterback with Aaron Jones, Watson, and Dobbs. I think I'm going to get my first. Oh no, this isn't my first share. I didn't even remember taking him in another draft. This must have been the first draft I did with Pat. I'm going to get a share of Sam Laporta here with my Amon-Ra St. Brown. No Jared Goff, but get some of these Lions guys here.
Okay, I respect that. I also need to look at what I'm doing on this team because I'm good at QB, good at running back. Because like this other team that I drafted, Pete, the overlay team is like such a hatchet job that I have to like pay a lot of attention to make sure it's like even okay. This team, I feel like I think I'm mostly taken care of. I got my stacks, so I should probably just be taking like value guys.
Sounds like you got it figured out.
I have confidence in my. How confident are you in your drafts? Like, I know obviously you're talking about sort of the non-binary nature of it, that even if you draft a good team, it's still pod luck. It's not even just that first draft pod, it's every pod you get after that. But like, how confident do you feel when you draft a team where it's like, do you mark it as like, this is like a special team? Because I put an X next to ones that I'm like, crush this draft.
I've personally found it's like similar with DFS lineups. I've never found, actually, the DFS analogy is probably better than it is for best ball, but it's like a lot of times when you love how a lineup fits together or feels, it means you're actually probably being too comfortable, like eating too much chalk, or not being levered enough as far as giving your chance of path to first place. Some of my best teams have been teams that I didn't like at all. Like the team that BBM4 and I had that finished top 10 in Best Ball Mania 2 did not have a single league winner. No Jonathan Taylor that year. No Mark Andrews. No Deebo Samuel. No Cooper Kupp. Literally not a single one. I didn't even look at that lineup until week 16 when BBM4 was like, I have no more shares left in Best Ball Mania. And I was like, wait, I just looked. Our team is still live here. So I do not think we're actually good at predicting which lineups are going to do well. I think it's just a feeling, and the vibes can be good because it's clean, but there's no correlation to what we like and how it performs.
Okay. I think that's a fair way to look at it. I think it's more to me like, did I get premium stacks? Did I get value guys? Did I get players who I think are better than the other average players at some sort of value? But I get it. Like, I think you're probably right that, like if you build a really good DFS team, like Pete's talking about, they're probably pretty cashy for the most part and probably going to be duplicated a lot. Whereas like the teams you're talking about, like, again, if you didn't have Justin Jefferson or didn't have Jalen Hurts, that got you different from chunks of 40%, 35% of the field. So I guess it's different to have like, what's your best tournament team in week 17 versus like, what's your best holistic team.
And I'm not saying that you can't say, hey, I crushed that draft or I executed the things I want to do with stacks. I'm just saying there's no way to actually predict that that's going to be the teams that do well. All you're trying to do is make as many solid teams as possible and then hope you run hotter than the goddamn sun.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good point. So line of scrimmage, a top 3 finisher last year in Best Ball Mania 3, put a star or meh. Hilariously, it was a meh team that ended up 3rd in BBM3. The ugly ones are usually the ones that surprise. Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense because they are the contrarian ones for sure.
There was the team I had go farthest last year in Best Ball Mania. It was a team we actually drafted on ship chasing, and we all hated it when we drafted it live because it was a piss boy room and we were getting sniped on all of our guys and it had all this good value on it. All right, I got my Rondale Moore fix last draft. Let's set up a little fun late mini correlation double tap. We'll do Khalil Shakur and Tyquan Thornton.
Okay. I've been taking a little more Tyquan lately just because they have not brought in anybody else at receiver that seems noteworthy. It is good to point out that Devontae Parker's still there, but I think he's another June 1 guy where they could kind of have that decision point coming up. But honestly, like receiver got pretty thin here fast, Pete. So I think you did a good job taking those two guys.
Yeah, I was starting. So I had 3 players in my queue, Spags, and I was starting to get pretty nervous. Luckily, 2 of them were there.
The picks lining up here has been tough for me, and I think I've salvaged this other team now enough. But this team now, I feel like the main team, the one that's on camera, is one that I want to be good, and I feel I'm a little bit missing some receiver parts that would have been good to get.
You're like You're like a Pinocchio doll, just missing a few parts to make you a real boy.
You know what would help me be complete, Pete, is if people were to subscribe to the channel right now, hit the like button, and of course, leave a comment on both this stream and the stream that we did on Pete's channel. You can see the other thumbnail. I didn't get a chance to swap those, but go do that right now. Every comment you leave on one of Pete's Best Ball Mania 4 streams, I guess one comment per video, gets you an entry to win $1,500 combined, going to 3 different people. So go do that right now. I've seen a lot of comments coming through, but don't forget to comment on the old videos too, because Pete, you are a generous man and you deserve every free comment you get.
Are we, am I correct? Am I doing the math correctly that we're 20 subs away from 2K on the Splash Play channel?
Yeah, we were 30 when we started the morning. So yeah, we're now firmly in the hunt.
All right. We got 80 people watching right now. I'm guessing there's at least a handful of you who aren't subscribed. Get subscribed to the channel. This channel is going to be at 2K subs by the end of the day. I'm calling it. Might as well get it over with now.
I hope so. I'm excited because I think 2K to me was always a marker that, puts us a little bit ahead of the curve of where we should be. And the content's not stopping, guys. We're going to continue to grind this out all off season long. And apparently I'm going to grind out some Texans for no particular reason because I got thin at receiver. I might take Stroud late, actually.
Some of those rookie quarterbacks were hanging around a good bit in this draft.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. And I get it. People don't like the new thing. I hate when people turn their minds off to a thing that hasn't occurred yet. And I'm seeing that more on my social media feed where it's like, well, this guy did it before. And it's like, yeah, he did. And you gotta stay ahead of the curve a little bit and take some young guys and take some shots. But I don't know.
Man, so just the way my structure is set up here, this 2-5-7-2, I definitely want to get to 9 wide receivers on this one just because I got some rookies. I only had 4 wide receivers through 10 rounds. So I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. But man, the board is real gross right now for wide receivers.
Yeah, I will say if anybody wants to really tail me on these, and of course, if you want to fade, go ahead. Slayton, usually free, though he goes in the 17th here. I think he's a good receiver to get. He was good last year. He's the only outside receiver they have and a team full of slots. Terrace Marshall, I would still take late. Who else? Yeah, I think those are the 2 that really stand out. Tillman's also pretty good too, but hopefully Tillman will be there for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean into correlation for these 2 last picks for me. 2 guys that I have not selected. I can't really imagine myself going out of my way to select them under any other circumstances. So I am going to select Deontay Hardy. I'm just going to take both of the kind of Bills wide receiver 3 flyers here in Khalil Shakur and Hardy. Hope I nail on one of them. And then, I did end up kind of boxed out with Tua. I ended up with just Tua and A-Chain. I actually think almost similar to like the Josh Palmer thing where you're going to need an injury for him to really get in your lineup. But I'm going to grab Braxton Berrios, who was pretty good on the Jets. I think he will have a role in the slot. And then if something happens to Waddle or Tyreek, I think he could give you a couple usable weeks.
I mean, you saw Sherfield have some okay weeks last year, and he's not very good. And I think Berrios is an improvement who should be more reliably in the mix. I think Berrios is a nice pick. And if you were a 3 tight end guy, I still think you should take Durham Smythe. I know people saw the Tyler Croft signing for Miami and were like, oh, he's going to do it. Durham Smythe's got a new contract. He's a great blocker. He's going to be out there a lot. And like combined, he and Gesicki last year had like, I think 7 touchdowns. So if Smythe picks up like 5 of those, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Do you mind if I answer this quick? Underdog Cardio Club from Raise It earlier. Yeah, the promo just dropped. So Underdog Cardio Club is back for this year. He's asking about the grandfathered in part. So I don't know, Raise It, if you were in it last year, but it just means that to get in the club, you have to do, I believe it's 7 drafts in the upcoming month, Cardio Club. And then you get in and start receiving rake back. Everyone who's already in from last year is already going to start getting rake back on their entries right away.
That's a great deal. Great deal to get some of that money back. And if you have the time to do it, though I do wish, Pete, that this could have been the year where we just tracked our Apple Watch stuff and I could have done it for weightlifting every day. That would have been nice.
Yeah, exactly.
My heart rate goes up. I'm hitting 120s, lifting fast.
I got my garage gym setup is almost complete. Like not how I want it in its final form, but I got the rack and the bench and my bumper plate. So I'm excited to get after it.
I mean, for me, having a home gym was like a pretty big addition to. Okay, well, I drafted him, right? Why is I hit the button on Stroud and it's not letting me take Stroud?
Why?
I don't know.
Because you're not on the clock. Oh wait,
this is very odd. Hopefully, he'll land where he's supposed to.
You don't have positional limits set up or anything, right?
No. Well, let's see. All right, let's look at completed here. Let's refresh.
Wow, what a sweat here.
Yeah, okay, all right, he got in there.
I think I have noticed a bug at the end of the draft. You know, when it hits 0, it doesn't show the last pick.
Yeah, actually, I have seen that recently too. So I guess that could be it. Why did I take a 5th running back in the overflow? Let's read the teams, Pete. You want to read yours first as I pull it up?
Yeah, I was just naming it real quick here. Okay, so this team has Tua and Jordan Love at quarterback, value hounded Tua, despite not having Waddle or Tyreek, which I don't like, but still like Tua here. Running back, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, Rashad White, Devin Achane, Kendre Miller. Seems like a perfectly solid running back room. Wide receiver, we were behind and had to make up with quantity. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Watson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Romeo Doubs, Khalil Shakur, Tyquan Thornton, Deontay Hardy, Braxton Berrios. A lot of correlation in there, a lot of rookies. And then tight ends, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta. Definitely like that pairing of an anchor and then a high upside rook.
And my team here, which I bravely fought through 2 drafts at once to put together, is Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud at QB, running back, DeAndre Swift, AJ Dillon, Jamal Williams, Jalen Warren, Devin Singletary. Maybe should have taken one more running back. At wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, Rashee Rice, Van Jefferson, John Mechie, and Nathaniel Tank Dell. And then a tight end, TJ Hawkinson, David Njoku. Who won this one, Pete? I feel like I think again we both built good teams, so that at the end of the day, that's the goal, right?
I think it would be more instructive to pull up your the other draft that you were paying attention to.
Let me pull that up.
So you were kind of in a similar spot as me, Spags, in that last one where you had. Well, talk me through. You did get the CJ Stroud value. Talk me through why going 3 QBs there. And this is from someone who's done multiple 3 QB builds when he probably didn't. So I'm not attacking you, but I am curious the CJ Stroud pick there after spending 2 top 100 picks at QB.
It was just because I had so many Houston players at that point and nobody at running back I think was going to materially change my impact there. I guess you could say I could have just volumed it up and added one more running back, but I had 2 Houston receivers and Singletary. So I believe enough in Stroud that I think he's going to have ceiling days more than people realize. But that's the main thing for me is like I didn't take an elite QB. I did take 2 QBs in the range that would normally be pretty good for a 2 QB build. But Stroud I just think is undervalued. So it was a luxury pick for me, but maybe a luxury I didn't have because my running backs. Here's my other team that I drafted, so we can compare. QB, Geno Smith and Derek Carr. Had to reach a little bit for Derek Carr to make sure I got him. Running back, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Najee Harris, and Zach Evans. At receiver, JSN, Jordan Addison, Jahan Dotson, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore, Alec Pierce, Rashid Shaheed, McCole Hardman, Darius Slayton. Then a tight end, Sam Laporta and Juwan Johnson. And I believe Sam Laporta was an auto draft.
Wow. I thought you liked to leverage my Sam Laporta pick by taking who's a dusty tight end on the lines. But no, yeah, I think it works.
Yeah, I think Laporta is just a nice value at this point. Laporta is one of those guys too who's going to get steamed up a lot. He's been crushing apparently the camps and all that stuff. So I think he's a guy that looks pretty good, though. I probably could have not taken him and taken some other receiver and I guess taken Fant late, but the brain function wasn't there enough here for me at this point of the draft. Pete, what are the plugs here? Of course, people should be leaving a comment down below to enter Pete's giveaway. 1 comment per video on Pete's Best Ball Mania 4 videos. You'll get entered to win $1,500 combined going to 3 different people. So $500 each whenever Pete hits 15,000 subs on his channel. So that's the giveaway we are appreciating here. And of course, Pete will reply if you comment on his channel on that video that we just did. I will reply if you comment on the Splash Play channel, just so you know where you're getting it.
Yeah, and I see a bunch of you guys' cardio club questions. I'll happily answer those in the Discord here. Other plugs, like Spag said, I do have the playlist still going on my stream. So if you are behind on comments, you can catch up. I make it very easy for you, putting all of the videos in that single playlist. I'm guessing on ship chasing tomorrow night we'll be drafting. I don't know if we have anything else to do other than draft. Yeah, I think that's mainly it. I'm also going to be recording. It's going to be pre-recorded but released either tonight or tomorrow. It's about the Best Ball Data Bowl that I'm going to be hosting with the guys over at Fantasy Data Pros. And so we're going to kind of break down the competition, talk a little bit about the state of best ball analytics and stuff. So if you are inclined to want to kind of get your hands dirty with some data or just interested in this contest, which is open to everyone, keep an eye out for that video. Sam Hoppen is going to join us on there too. Really sharp data analyst with best ball data. So I think that'll be one to look out for.
And if you are looking for some inspiration for that too, I saw that Pete mentioned the GitHub is accessible too. So you could look at the other entries, figure out what other people are doing and go with that. And on the way out here, Christopher Davis, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking dullard and adult, and I hope you change your first name because I'm ashamed to share it with you. But for all of you guys, I'm not ashamed to share Splash with you. Again, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow Pete at Peter Overzet. Follow this show at Splash Play Pod. And dare to think differently. Dare to not be a sheep like Christopher Davis, guys. This poor guy. Right, Pete?
I thought you were going to end the show. You wanted some positive reinforcement. I will just say it's nice now because I had the rant on Splash Play again. Was it Paul last week? Was that already last week where I just lost my goddamn mind and then you lost your mind today? So it's nice if we just kind of ping pong it back and forth.
Yeah, see who we're going to lose our minds about next week. That's the fun of Splash Play. We'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weeks. Good luck.